You know, history does something very strange to words and definitions. They're never constant, there is no stability to them. Greeks, some early ones, believe that the world is always changing, it's never stable, and so don't build a house on a foundation that is never constant. For those of you who have grappled to find happiness, I'll give it to you first in a very simple way, and then we'll make it a bit more complicated. Imagine that you're 18 or 19 or 20, you go to a party, you see someone across the room from you, and they happen to be somewhat attractive, and the way we become customers of things, of anything, you don't have to be a customer of philosophy, just to become a customer of anything where you pursue the thing that you want. Almost everything under the sun begins with attraction. If you're not attracted to anything, you're not going to pursue it. Attraction can be organic or it could be imposed. Some children just gravitate towards broccoli and spinach. Their parents don't have to scream at them. Some kids don't like broccoli and spinach, and so the parents force them to become attracted to broccoli and spinach. Sometimes the things that are forced upon us, initially, they create a good amount of unpleasant feelings, but hopefully if you stick with it for a while, you realize that something that was initially unpleasant all of a sudden becomes a source of pleasure. So just because you feel bad about something initially, it doesn't mean that it's so. And for those of you who like to read books, especially nice poetry, not because you're religious, not because you're philosophical, you just enjoy reading good literature. In the Old Testament, perhaps the oldest book, older than Genesis, is called the Book of Job. For those of you who once in a while wonder why there is suffering, why there is evil, why sometimes life doesn't give us what we want and it gives us the exact opposite, why there is pain, why there is shame, why we seek happiness and we do everything we possibly can to obtain it, only to realize it's slipping through our fingers like sand, read the Book of Job. And what you find throughout the book is a man who does everything just right. You know, he's good to his wife, he's good to his kids, he's good to his land, he's good to the trees, good to the animals. But you see down here, we have no control or power over anything. It's a bet between God and Satan. And that's how life is, it's random. And what you find in the Book of Job is for about 20, 30, 40 pages, he just complains. Why is my life this way? I don't deserve this. This is imposed pain, imposed the suffering. And he tries to find answers. He can't. He comes to a point where he says, I just want to die. Nothing in life has any meaning anymore for me. I used to believe in God, no more. I used to believe in religion, no more. I used to believe in justice, in goodness, in compassion, no more. There is no thing called wisdom. You know, my parents told me to go to school, I'll be happy. I went to school, I'm not happy. My wife told me to go somewhere and get some milk, come home, feed the kids, I'll be happy. I did all that. I'm not happy. It doesn't matter what I do, where I go. I'm just not happy, period. And all of a sudden, Job does something that sometimes some of us in this class do, which is you come to a place where you say, I was a customer of religion, I was a customer of thinking, I was a customer of being kind and compassionate and forgiving. And every time I did the opposite, I was filled with shame and regret and remorse. I've come to believe that none of the things I used to believe really make any sense. Life becomes meaningless. And you know what Job does, or what at least wants to do? He says, why doesn't the earth open? I want to be swallowed up by the earth. I want to die. Why was I born? Now, when you flip through the pages, if you have the patience and you're not easily overcome by laziness or tiredness, you realize that near the end of the book, Job begins to understand something very, very interesting. None of us in this class have power over anything, really. Do the best you can, do the best you can to pass this class, to pass other classes. Write the essays to the best of your abilities, but ultimately, the instructor gives you the final judgment. It's either a pass or a no pass. You can complain, you can cry, you can knock your head to the wall, but ultimately, you have two choices. You can either accept and say, I did my best, it didn't go anywhere. Or you could say, I'm going to complain. Job comes to understand that there is no longer any need to complain. Life is just what it is. Accept the meaninglessness, accept the misery, accept the unhappiness, accept all the shortcomings. In some ways, most of you in this class are profoundly unlucky because you were born at a time where there is a good amount of privilege. In my time, we really didn't have much, and no one promised us paradise or happiness. You just knew that you had to work hard, and you couldn't find money or earn money cheaply. You really had to work hard. I'm from Iran, and for the past 4,000 years, we've had literature and poetry that have been, for the most part, very dark and gloomy. Just to give you an example. زمن بشنو ای پیر آموزگار مکن تکیه بر گردش روزگار که این منزل درد و جای غم است در این دامگه شادمانی کم است. زمن بشنو ای پیر آموزگار. There are certain people, you too, these people. One is Eckhart Tolle, the other is Jordan Peterson. He is, of course, 1,000-fold better. The other is Sadhguru, and you can find countless of these teachers online. And they are how-to teachers. They tell you what to do and how to do them, and if you do them exactly the way they prescribed, you will reach this thing called happiness. So whoever wrote this poet says, I go to these teachers and I tell them, Zaman Bishnoe Pir Amuzagar. You are my elder, I understand. There's a good amount of wisdom inside you. I understand that too. You come on the stage and you promise happiness to everyone. I understand too. Makun tekye bar gardesh rozagar. That the world has only one function, to create dreams and then to crush them. That's what the world does. You see someone attractive out there and you're extremely happy. You get to know them, you're extremely miserable. You long to go to Zachary's and have a slice of deep dish pizza. It occupies a good amount of mental space, and you go there and you wait and you wait and you're salivating like a bulldog. And then the slice comes to you. You eat the first one, oh man, you're in paradise. The second one, you're about to throw up. And so this person looks at this teacher and says, I'm here to tell you that despite all the things you promise people about happiness, about comfort, that this world will never give anyone happiness. Never. This is a home to pain, to misery, to suffering. Moments of joy you will have, they will just be extremely rare. Imagine if you come from such a culture. You stand in line for 2 hours to get a loaf of bread and people just complain about life, about social condition, about politics, about money. You know, you want a gallon of milk, as we did way back then. You have to wake up at 3 in the morning, stand in line for 6 hours, only to get to the teller who tells you we ran out. Then you go back home empty-handed. Let me perhaps give you another line of Persian poetry. These couple of lines are by Fariduddin Attar. Dard bar man riz u darmanam makon chun ke dard tu z darman khoshtar ast. You and I don't enjoy pain. It's unpleasant. It goes against your organism. Consider this though. When you're in a happy, pleasant, good mood, you call your friends, you chit-chat, you laugh, you have a good time. And then you come home around 10 p.m. and you say, well, that was wonderful. But then you turn off the lights, but you can't sleep. For some strange reason, you're forced to evaluate your day. And you say, man, I haven't really done anything. I just went out with my loser friends. We talked about ridiculous things. And I feel ashamed. You know why? Because just the night before, you went into your room after taking a shower. You were supposed to get dressed and go out with your friends, but you felt a little depressed, a little sad, sorrowful. It came from nowhere. That we don't really know how all of a sudden our moods from joy turns into sadness. Maybe it's the play of the gods, we don't know. But you know what happened to you when you sat depressed? You picked up your pen, you took out your notebook, and you wrote these beautiful lines of poetry. And you said, man, how is it possible? Out of so much grief and sadness and sorrow, such beautiful poems can come about. And then you say something really interesting. If I can be sad all the time and yet create beautiful poetry, it becomes a source of creativity. I create like Khalil Gibran, like the authors of the Old Testament. These are tragic books, and yet they are, even though they live in the cradle of sorrow, they inspire us so much. The reason why we don't like pain is because we don't really know what to do with them. We can't use them as tools. And that's the function of religion for the longest time. Life is going to give you all these headaches. And so religion is there to give you some ideas, some tools to deal with these headaches well.